Hi, I'm Gwen coming to you from the gun store in Las Vegas, where we are teaching a CCW class. You're watching Fired Up with Bob Irwin.
Thanks for tuning in to Fired Up. I'm your host for the show, Bob Irwin, coming to you from the gun store here in Las Vegas. This show is all about guns, politics, and self-defense issues. I'd like to take just a moment to remind our regular viewers that our shows are now available on YouTube. If you go to YouTube, firedupwithbob.com for our whole archived group of shows. On this edition, we're going to discuss two things. A rural homeowner who saved his own life by being really ready when someone came to his door at 6 a.m. on Sunday morning. And does your concealed weapon permit allow you to carry your gun when your employer doesn't want you to? That's kind of a legal question. But first, we're going to get into this story. This was in Colville, Iowa, and crime happens everywhere, even in quiet towns, rural towns. Fortunately, this homeowner had the good sense to bring his handgun with him when somebody knocked on his door at an unusual hour.
Well, or answering your door anytime that you're not expecting someone. A lot of times the bad guys will knock to see if anyone's home and, commit crimes from there. But trying to be prepared, if you're not expecting somebody to come to your house, think twice about it. It's probably not a Girl Scout.
Yeah, but it's a sad commentary, if you ask me, about if you have to arm yourself every time you go to the door. I mean, who wants to do that? Who wants to have that feeling that they have to do that? But unfortunately, the reality is probably all of us have a weapon somewhere near their front door so they can access it.
And this guy really needed a gun. Well, a home invader kicked the door in, or when he let him in, stabbed the guy in the neck. This is not the time to say, oh, hang on, I'll be right back, to go to your safe and get your gun. You need it now, And being in a rural area, maybe it probably rung a little bell with this guy that this is kind of unusual. I don't usually get people ringing my door at 6 a.m. in the morning, so maybe that set him on a little higher level of alert anyway, which was good because it worked out well.
Now, in this case, a peep hole in the door or some kind of a way to look out through the door, a security camera, they're not all that expensive these days, might have prevented this from happening because he could have looked through before he started opening the door. But ultimately, quite often these things happen, knock at the door, and then if they don't hear somebody or they decide now's the time, they just kick in the door and come on in anyway. And when that happens, you don't have time. As you said, Tony, there's no time to go open the safe or get the gun or unlock it. You better have it right here, right now. And that's probably all that saved his life.
Yeah, we've talked about this type of thing several times on the show. This is the first one I've run across recently where the homeowner had no warning at all. He just started opening the door and the knife was in his throat. He's being stabbed. Had he not had the gun right there in his hand, this wouldn't be this story.
And this reminds me that there has been some legislation put forward recently and some ideas about legislation where the homeowner is required to keep their gun in a safe.
Right.
Right. And that happens all the time, especially after we have a child access a firearm and shoot themselves or shoot somebody else, usually another child. There's always a discussion about how to keep them safe from kids. And that's certainly a very important topic, and everybody who has firearms needs to do that. But requiring that firearms be locked up, kind of the Washington, D.C. model prior to the Heller decision, couldn't have the ammunition in the firearm had to be locked up. So they were useless as a self-defense tool. Another thing to understand about this particular incident, the homeowner managed to shoot the attacker, I think it was 3 or 4 times, in the chest. The guy drove like 5 miles away before he got apprehended and treated. So this is another one of those, don't expect the person, we talk about it all the time, they're not just going to fall down like in the movies. You might have to fight for your life and keep fighting no matter what you see.
Yeah, the guy actually, he took either 4 or 5 rounds, depending on which press release you're reading from the police department. But he actually then ran out, got in his car, and drove 5 miles and then crashed it into a ditch. And that's how the officer found him. They stopped at the car wreck on the way to this guy's house, which tells you how long the homeowner would have been there by himself with his stab wounds if he hadn't been able to shoot this guy. He'd be dead meat. And this is, I have to agree with you, Ryan. It's really tough to think that you got to live where you have a gun by your front door. But, you know, I'm not trying to scare everybody that watches the show, but good idea to have one near the door that you can get. This is pretty tough. We've kind of reached where we're running out of time. I want to remind listeners that we have now a national radio show. It's appearing on KDWN radio here in Las Vegas, 7:20 a.m., but it's carried KDWN.com on their website. It's at 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday evenings. So if you're free at that time, please go to your computer, crank up KDWN.com, and you'll be able to talk to us live. It's a live call-in show. Pretty proud of it. Like to have you listen in.
Our panel discussion will continue right after this. Hi, it's Emily, and I'm coming to you from the Shotgun Wedding Chapel here at the Gun Store in Las Vegas, where you can book your shotgun wedding ceremony, vow renewal, or commitment ceremony. You're watching Fired Up with Bob Irwin.
We're back here on Fired Up. So you were able to get your concealed carry permit, and you would like to carry at work to protect yourself. Say you maybe have a job at a convenience store, or you work as a cab driver where you're at a high risk to be robbed in an isolated location. Can you do that?
Virtually every state has laws that allow private enterprise employers to prohibit things that are provided by state law. They trump the right to carry a firearm on private property if the employer or owner of the property wants to be so. So they can prohibit you from carrying your gun there, just like they can prohibit customers by simply having a no guns allowed rule in their establishment.
And there's a lot of articles in the news lately about businesses that discriminate against CCW holders. Starbucks, Jack in the Box, Chipotle, I think Chili's as well. Any store that wants to deny the people the right to carry guns in there, they are going to lose customers by putting up that no guns allowed sign.
And I'm sure that they are losing customers. I know, for example, myself, I will not patronize a business that restricts my right to carry. Just this past Christmas, my wife took me to a local mall here in town. A store in the mall had some shirts on sale. And she goes, well, let's go. I walked in, and sure enough, right on the front door is the big no gun thing. I said, come on, let's go. She goes, but they're on sale. I don't care. I'm not going to give a business my money if they're going to restrict my right to carry. Sorry, not going to happen. Well, I don't want to be a random target if someone comes in and starts shooting the place up and I'm not armed. I'm sorry, not going to happen. Goodbye, thank you.
Well, the bottom line is if a store or a business can legally prohibit a CCW permit holder as a customer from coming in, they can do the same thing as an employee or for an employee. Sure. That's their right. Now, whether we agree with it or not, as Mike said, this is got a lot of legal justification behind them that they can do it.
Well, it goes worse, actually, some places. We did a story some weeks ago about a place that I won't name the company again, but they bar their employees from carrying, but they allow customers to carry in their premise. That's how bad this can get. You're in a gun-free zone, and you guys that are working there are the only victims. You really don't want to have a job there.
Well, and reading the backside of this story, it's actually a little interesting because when I first read it, I kind of expected to find out that they had a no guns policy and he was sneaking a gun in there. I get a call like this about once a week from somebody who says, hey, what's the worst thing that can happen in Nevada if I carry my CCW into a place that's posted? And it's a misdemeanor if you're caught, and probably they'll just ask you to leave if they catch you. But the real question is, why would you want to go there? Just kind of like Tony, why their food can't be that good or whatever can't happen that good. There's another one just like them down the road. Go give your business to somebody who supports your right to defend yourself. In this case, Apparently, there was no rule about him carrying a firearm that I could find. What he got fired for, they have a non-escalation clause or requirement, basically meaning kind of what a lot of businesses tell their employees. If somebody comes and tries to rob the place, give them what they want so they'll go away and nobody gets hurt. The weird part about this one is, apparently, the allegation was the bad guy tried to shoot him first, and he only drew his firearm to shoot back. Now, the bad guy's firearm malfunctioned or something because he didn't get shot at. Ultimately, he thought he was going to die. And so, in this case, although he wants his job back, I'm probably sure he's happy he didn't get shot.
Well, the bad guy's got a gun. He points it at our clerk, guy, pharmacist, I think he was, here, and the guy's pulling the trigger and the gun's not working. At the same instant, the guy sees the gun come up, draws his own, and fires a couple of shots, which didn't hit the guy, as I recall. The guy ran out of the store. So nobody was actually shot. He was reacting to actually, in his mind, being fired at. And 8 days later, they terminated him.
If I was a customer,
escalation.
If I was a customer at that pharmacy, I would take my business elsewhere just because they did that. I mean,
and let them know. You know,
and let them know.
I've
Exactly.
written a few nasty grams. I see the no gun sign. I said, thank you. I was going to patronize your business, but because you're restricting my right to carry concealed, not open, concealed, I take my business elsewhere. Thank you. Goodbye. Have a nice life.
And in case anybody thinks that this hasn't been litigated, it has. He filed a lawsuit over the termination, claiming that it was a violation of his Second Amendment rights. This went all the way to the U.S. Court of Appeals for his jurisdiction, and a 3-judge panel said, no, private enterprise has the right to set the rules. They cannot violate the Constitution because they don't have the power to in this way. They cannot deny you your Second Amendment rights. They can't trample on that.
And this isn't the first guy to lose his job over a similar set of circumstances. We had similar thing here where a clerk saved the life of a shopper.
That's right.
And they fired the guy.
We've had a couple of cab drivers get fired when they thwarted robberies over the years.
So if you want to know where to rob a cab driver, welcome to my hometown of Las Vegas. It so annoys everybody on this panel that people are forced to be disarmed, but that's where we're stuck. This was an appellate court decision, and it's probably done for Michigan. So as we're closing here, I want to mention to you all, we have a companion radio show that is on a local station here, KDWN. You can find our show at kdwn.com on the internet. We are on from 6 to 7 p.m. on Saturday nights. We will be there doing a live talk show on these issues. You can call in and speak to us, and we will enjoy if you do that. It makes the show really interesting with the calls that we get.
Hi, I'm Greg, and welcome to the Gun Store in Las Vegas. Here at the Gun Store, we're here to help you, where we have a huge selection of firearms. When you're in Las Vegas, stop by and see us. Guns, politics, and self-defense. That's Fired Up with Bob Irwin.
Hello, and welcome back to Fired Up with Bob. We're going to take some viewer questions. We've got some questions that came from our Facebook page. The first one is from Mike, who says, what are the laws for carrying in city parks? Open carry or concealed carry? My grandson plays at a lot of parks around town, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to carry.
In our area here in Las Vegas, the city parks now allow carrying of concealed firearms. That was a new change they made in the law this year. If you are living in a different city and viewing this show, you'd really need to call the police department or the commissioner of parks to find that out, because that will vary greatly throughout the western United States, throughout the United States altogether. Very different rules about city and county parks almost wherever you go. Here in this area in Las Vegas, the county parks don't allow carry and the city parks do. And so you can get yourself into real trouble not knowing where the park is located, and all it says is, you know, Joe Smith Park. It doesn't tell you what jurisdiction it's in. So call somebody, so you know what's going on. And if they don't want you carrying your gun in their park, go somewhere else.
This viewer wants to say that they have a tight budget, first and foremost. That was made very clear. She says, what would be your recommendation for the best handgun for the money? I have a budget of $400.
Wow,
That could go some...
lots of good ones for $400. The quality manufactured guns start at around $300 and work their way up to about $4.5, and there's a wide variety of choices for them. Expense is one of the things in a gun that generally means it's a better quality gun if it costs more money. Not in all cases. There's some very, very reliable guns that are in the $300 range. You need to go into a gun shop and take a look. That the person behind the counter recommends something for the size of your hand and your type of body and how you're going to carry the gun. But you'll find a lot of choices, and hopefully somebody can walk you through it and find the one you like.
Next question says, I have a World War I Colt 1911. It was my grandfather's service pistol. I was told never to use the newer bullets with higher grain counts in them. This didn't make sense to me, so I wanted to ask if there's an actual reason you can think of for this.
I cannot think of one either. I'd never heard that. The World War I Colt pistols are as well made as any of them. It's not rusted or worn out. There's no difference in quality. If anything, the old ones were machined better than the new ones that are built by computers now.
They don't make them like they used to.
So, yeah, exactly.
Another ammo question. This viewer wants to know, what is the difference between 45 ACP and 45 GCP?
A 45 ACP stands for automatic Colt pistol. It is what goes in a standard 1911 pistol or a Thompson submachine gun. It's a military caliber 45 the United States uses. The one with a G is a Glock cartridge that is slightly shorter than a 45 ACP. It holds a little bit less powder, but actually the loads can be the same because there's a lot of extra room in a 45 ACP. And the Glock cartridge is built for the smaller Glock so they could put a 45 caliber bullet in a smaller frame. It's kind of dying out as a pistol round. It's still around a little bit. It gave Gaston Glock a cartridge named after him. I don't think it's going to last forever on the market, so my guess would be to stay away from that cartridge because at some point the ammunition supply is going to dwindle to hard to find.
Well, that's going to end our question segment. If you have anything that you'd like to ask Bob or any of our other panelists, please write us at questions@firedupwithbob.com. Thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Mason, coming to you from one of the VIP ranges here at the gun store in Las Vegas. And you're watching Fired Up with Bob Irwin.
Hi, I'm Tony D with the gun store here in Las Vegas, and today's historical firearm is a very unique little pistol. It's a model 1934 Beretta. And 1934 was developed in 1934 for the Italian Army, and it's in .380 caliber. It's a very, very pleasant, small, compact, nice shooting gun. This gun was made from 1934 all the way up until 1991. It was in production. Very, very compact, sweet shooting gun, single action, and it's famous for what they call the Beretta open slide design. The open slide design means that the slide is opened up here and the empty cartridge case can come out any which way. A lot of the other semi-automatics have an ejection port in which the empty case must come out of that. They say that this is more or less prone to malfunction because of that feature, and the other side of the coin said it's more susceptible to dirt and debris because of the open design. This gun came with the plastic grips on it, and this one here is marked with the Italian, with the fascist, Christian date and the fascist date. And what that means is that it was built in 1942. However, it has Roman numerals of 21. And the way that worked was when Mussolini took power in 1922, that was the first year of the fascist regime. So it went from there on. So 1923 would be 2, and so on and so forth. This gun, they came out, this is a 1934 model, and this is in .380, or what the Italians called 9mm corto, was short. In 1935, they came out with another model of this gun, and it was in .32 caliber, and they were basically used for the Air Force. The Air Force was more of an elite, and I think with the Italians, it was like the more rank you had, the smaller the caliber it got. The generals, some of the generals were carrying little .25 autos. So it's kind of a unique little gun. Okay, we're going to insert the magazine, charge it, and have some fun. I only loaded 5 rounds in it. You can see the slide stays back on the last round, and we're done.
You're watching Fired Up with Bob Irwin, coming to you from the gun store in Las Vegas.